Well, good evening. It's Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. And I'm going to call the meeting to order. I will do the roll call. Kate Ryan,
Here.
Josh Fay here, and Bill Marachek here. So we have a quorum. We're going to move on to the approval of the minutes of October 8th. They're in the packet.
I move we approve the minutes of October 8th, 2025.
Second.
All right, all in favor, Josh
Yes.
Fay,
Yes.
Kate Ryan, Bill Marachek, yes. Then we're going to move to the minutes of December 10th, which are essentially just a quick summary of the meeting. We didn't have a quorum.
A question, do we need those?
I asked the clerk's office and they said it's best to have a record of it, so I put this together.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I didn't
either.
I
I
called
called it for cancel. Yeah. Now I know. Okay. Well, I move to accept the
Okay.
minutes from December 10th, 2025.
Second.
all right, so all in favor,
Yes.
Kate, Josh?
Yes.
Bill, yes. So we, at the next meeting, I'm sure we'll have the 15th of December and the October minutes.
Did we do November 12th as well?
No, it's no.
No, that's mine. You'll have them next time.
November. Yep.
Yeah.
November.
And tonight, Josh will be taking the minutes. Okay, we'll move on to item number 3. Report from Jess, employee events, handbook update, and personnel reporting.
Sure, so for employee events, I realized we didn't put those flyers in here. Which was on me, the packet was a little chaotic, this time around, just because we had the holiday in there, I was on vacation last week, so. I do apologize that it was a little piecemealed together, but I think the most recent event we're doing, right now for employees, winter warm-up tour, so, Lindsay, our employee engagement and development specialist, is teaming up with different people from HR, and she's essentially going around to all the different buildings and offices in town and just bringing like a hot chocolate bar to everybody with some treats and things like that. So that's been well received. I don't know if we updated on the cookie swap or not. We had a big cookie swap in December that also included a blue sweater contest component. So again, people seem to be enjoying those monthly events, and I believe up next month is some sort of a Healthy Hearts pop-up thing for February. So we're progressing along, getting feedback with each one, so that's pretty well received. Handbook update, 100% on me. I was hoping to have that fully reviewed before tonight. I've got to get it to you guys within the next month though. So I don't have anything further on that other than it's sitting with me, and I've been, like I said, between the holiday and being away and then being tied up with writing the annual report, budget narratives, it's just been a busy 3 days just since I've been back.
Before,
And then
before we leave that topic, it might be good just to talk a little bit about the expectations in terms of we will get the draft, which in fact has been reviewed
by
and
legal,
approved
yep,
by the attorney as well as your and
yes,
the town manager's
yes,
updates. So that will be it'll be in draft form, but
exactly,
it'll be that far along.
yes,
Had the if there were changes that were initiated by you or by the town manager, then those have gone back to the attorneys for a final.
yes, yes. And Erin, I don't think, Erin's actually reviewed it, she's done her job. And I don't think you had any changes other than we put in that one update relative to licensing for the highway grounds. No, I'm sorry, the water sewer division
Mhm.
employees, that it mirrors what we're doing for license reimbursements and things for the water sewer, I'm sorry, the highway grounds employees, because we have highway grounds and the union water sewers, and we're like trying to be consistent and also just really doing the right thing in terms of,
Yeah.
you know, paying for them to get various licenses and things like that. So I think that was the only
Yeah,
addition.
There wasn't a lot of additions. It's mostly they put in comments or questions, so we
Yeah.
just went through and addressed those.
Yeah.
Who put them in?
The legal counsel did.
I see. And will we see that view, or they are all integrated?
They'll be all
integrated.
integrated, so you'll kind of get kind of like the street
Looks like the
ready.
final version.
Yeah. And then I guess the only other question too, and I think we batted this around a couple of times in our discussions, and I honestly don't remember where we actually ended up, but you know, is it the desire that you want the employees to all get the draft at the same time that the board is getting it? So if they have questions, they can come ask questions here. do you want to just get the draft, even though they could in theory see it in the packet, which I know we definitely have some employees that keep an eye on the meetings and the packets.
Mhm.
They're gonna see it anyway once it's in the packet,
Mhm.
but it's kind of, what did you envision that? What do you think is the best way to roll with that?
Well, I guess to me, it seems like if you're basically promulgating the policies in the handbook that, it makes sense to me to deliver a final version to the town employees. If you're inviting review of a draft by employees, which I don't think is common practice,
No,
No, it
Um,
isn't. Yeah.
then you could do that, but I guess I don't know why you would. And I do, of course, welcome questions from employees if there are employees. I guess I think including it in the packet is adequate. Distributing it to the employees seems like you run the risk of including things that may not end up in the final version, which is, I think,
true.
unwise. And I don't know that we have any intention of reviewing it with a, to hack out pieces of a, policy or anything.
Right.
It's a review of what you think is appropriate, but my view is you would share it with employees once it was final.
Yeah, and again, most of what's
Mhm.
in there is stuff that's already been in those existing PPPs anyway. So maybe what we could do is put it in the packet, have the board look at it, review it, et cetera. And then if you're good with it, we finalize it, distribute it to the employees, and then maybe we have a scheduled time on a future one or two agendas. Like
Sure.
now that the handbook's been issued, like if you have questions, feedback, concerns, whatever, we've got a time set where you can come and do that. Maybe we just do it that way, if that's.
I also think, I mean, the board review process is not designed to be confidential and it is public documenting such that
Right.
if there is employee interest and people are paying attention to the packet, they are more than welcome to come and ask questions at
Exactly,
that time.
and I think there will be some folks for sure, and those same folks that have come in the past with policies and things that we brought forward have actually given some pretty good insight and feedback and food for thought, so. All right, that sounds like a good plan then, so again, I just need to. I need to get.
But what I need to, see if we can't nail down a little bit more finer is when would be the date you would get to the personnel board this document for review? Because if it comes in the packet,
That's too late. You
It's
need
too
to get
late.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to get you guys at least 2 weeks ahead of it. If you think that
I
that's
think
sufficient.
that's a
Yeah.
good goal
I agree.
I
to,
appreciate that. So I would like to read it actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is long. What is it, Aaron? Like 156?
It's like it's closer to 100.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's long.
Yeah.
But again, it's
Well,
it's all those PPPs plus the things, that are in 43, which was the hangover from the old bylaw. Plus, I think there's some snippets of APPs in there, and I mean, it's nice. It's a nice comprehensive document, but it is meaty.
Well, I was just wondering when the handbook is done and distributed, are you gonna take down all of those PPPs and
Yeah.
APPs? So you're just gonna
Yeah.
have this one? Oh, that's great.
is this going to be a bound document or is this only intended to be electronic or what is the?
I'd like it to be all electronic, but we
Oh.
could certainly print a few copies in-house for anybody that, for whatever reason, can't access. I mean, every employee, with the exception of a few, have town emails, and then they all usually have a way to access computer, but in the interest of keeping with Concord's initiatives to be green and reduce and all of that, I'd prefer it to be digital. Plus, obviously, if we send it out and get some fancy binding and stuff, that costs money, so.
Right. Well, that's what I was a little concerned about is the cost associated with.
Like I think about all those
binding
annual,
it to-
all those annual reports we have printed and bound, and it's like nobody takes the paper annual reports anymore, so. I don't want the handbook to be one of those, but again, we could certainly run off a few in-house and simply staple them if people wanted a paper copy. Or we look into what it might cost to give like each building or each department one paper copy to have, but.
Well, that's not a bad idea. Is
Yeah.
there an intention to have some kind of, what the right word, meeting with, at the time when this is distributed, so that there is an opportunity to walk walk employees if they want, or if they're interested? I mean, sort of like a forum
Yeah. we could actually-
communication?
We could consider doing that for sure. One thing we could do too is possibly present it like at our LMT meeting, so at least like the frontline, supervisors and managers that are part of that group. It's about 50 of us. We meet once a month right now. We're always looking for good topics for the agenda. So it could be we roll it out there and then say if individual departments want us to come out and do anything. I mean, we're all about more communication.
Right, I mean,
information sharing.
that's
We're
sure,
always
yeah.
happy to go out on site for any department, division, or even person that's like, hey, can you swing by and answer some questions? So.
Roll it out at which meeting did you say?
The LMT, which is the
LMT.
leadership management team.
I guess my last question, it seems like for me, it would make some sense if there are known topics that have a possible, that have had more interest by others, and you've taken that input into account. It seems to like those may be the topics that could be further questions or further. So I'm just wondering if for the personnel board standpoint, is there a way you can highlight that, these topics, I don't, they're gonna be numbers and numbers and letters, or how is this document gonna be organized?
It's definitely, yeah, it's got a table of contents, and I mean, my goal, and I don't know if it's set up this way now, Erin, you might recollect, but when it's an electronic document on the website, I'm hoping it's the type where like you can be like, family medical leave policy and then click like the page number and then
Yeah.
boom, it takes you right there. But they'll definitely all be identified, I think, by either a number or something. like
Yeah,
that.
it's numbers and sections, so
Yeah.
it's pretty
Numbers and
clear where
sections,
things
okay.
live.
So again, I'm just trying to, if there's a way to point us, the personnel board,
Yeah.
to those particular subjects, topics that, may be generating future conversation, it might be helpful to know what those are.
I mean, off the top of my head, definitely family medical leave is one
Okay.
that just comes up. We're probably gonna actually have a training just on family medical leave
Okay.
at one of the LMT meetings, which
Mm.
is actually one of Erin's goals this year. She's already kind of put together a presentation because there's a lot of confusion and people just don't fully understand FMLA, and then they
Yeah.
somehow think it's a bad thing, even though it's really a good thing. And just kind of going through the process, like if you have an employee that, you hear is going out for something, like what do you do and steps like that. So I think they'll definitely be questions on that one. I think, the leaves and things, at one point, there might have been a lot of questions, but since we've now increased and enhanced those benefits already as part of voting those individual policies, it was almost a year ago now. I don't think there'll be a ton on those. Can you think of anything, Erin, that might generate?
Nothing's coming to the top of my head,
Yeah.
really.
So.
Was there anything that, while you were going through the process, you identified maybe a hole or something that was missing that you felt that anything that you added that maybe, I don't know that there
Yeah.
was. but-
Kimberly put together a pretty comprehensive
yeah.
list of what was existing and what was ideas for potential ads based on
okay.
things that were missing
Yeah.
from current policies.
Awesome.
Okay, any other questions, comments on the handbook?
Okay. Erin, did you want to walk them through the reporting?
Sure. So I included the turnover information for November and December, since you didn't get the chance to see it from the last meeting. So in November, there was 3 departures from the town. And then in December, there was also 3. So up until December 2025, there was 23 total. And then I just included the personnel update flyers that goes out to all employees, just to put names to faces for new hires in there.
You said 23 departures over the course of the whole year last
It
year?
was July to December 2025.
What, I guess I can't remember what the terminology separation means. What is a separation distinct from the other
I would say involuntary.
involuntaries? Okay.
And then I did realize right before this meeting that the filters that I had used for the next page, for the year to date, well, the next couple pages, because those flyers are in there. For the year to date hiring for regular status, the one that has kind of the bar graph on there, that information, I had some funky filter happening, so it's a little bit out of date. So I'll talk you through the correct information and I'll be sure to include this in the next packet just for documentation purposes. So the correct numbers, so for year-to-date hiring for regular status, it's the average time to fill, we're averaging 77 days. The average, and that's from date open to offer accepted, and then date open to start date is averaging 105. It's a little bit different than what was in your packet, but I'll be sure to include it, like I said.
Are there any benchmarks that these numbers can be applied against that is available through some outside source or the mass?
There's probably something official, but I think it generally, I would say 60 days or 60 to 90 days is
Yeah.
right around a good average to target.
Month to post,
Mhm.
month to review, month to interview, and have the person give
Notice and
Yeah.
screenings and whatnot, yeah.
And the average, Aaron, I think you had mentioned to me something about the averages skewed because it was the public safety
Yeah.
positions.
Yeah, because
And
public
IT.
safety has a lot. And yep, we had an
And
IT
IT.
position that
Yeah.
Yeah.
was open for a while, but just recently was
Yeah.
hired, so that will update as of January.
So my question is, to Josh and Kate, is how meaningful is that particular number in terms of your, how do you feel, how important is that number to you in terms of performance, I guess, of the town?
The time to fill positions.
Yeah.
Not especially important to me. I think the numbers that you're giving are not alarming in any way. I
Mhm.
suppose if I heard a really long number, I would
Mhm.
have a different reaction to how important that information felt.
Mhm.
So having the information then at least gives you a sense of whether it's really out of alignment or not, so you'd like to see that continued?
I don't think it needs to be reported monthly, I guess, if that's what you're asking.
Well, I'm just trying to understand the value.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that the system, a lot of this is just quickly.
This is actually completely manual, so if you
Oh.
don't need it, that is fine with me. But if you do, I am still tracking it. It's easy enough to pull together through like a pivot table.
Well, I mean, is it helpful for you?
It
For
is
your
helpful
metrics?
for
Yeah,
us.
because it may, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it would inform, maybe there's some processes that aren't
Mhm.
working quite right, or, there's an area that you're not able to really recruit. You need to find some other options on
Mhm.
how to, make a bigger net or
Mhm.
something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, sure, and I think if in fact, and I don't know if it is or not, but if it were to be used in your performance review, that is this, whatever number it happens to be, whatever your goal is,
Mhm.
as it relates to the what we're talking about here, the hiring time, then, that may make some sense.
Mhm.
But I don't know if it is it?
I don't think so.
No, but I do think it is something good just to track, and I think ultimately, once we're fully up with Munis recruiting, some of this will become more automated,
Yes.
but we're happy to put it in the packet. If it's a few months has gone by and you're like, hey, like, where are we at with that? We can always put the information in a packet and just kind of share where we're at. I think there's been a lot of positive movement with HR being a lot more, kind of in the driver's seat with all of the hirings. We've got our generalist Nicole Wheatley, who is, I would say, probably doing the lion's share of
Mhm.
recruiting now, which has really helped out the departments, and things are a much more streamlined with all offers coming from our office, and that's had also some really positive effects too on the budget and numbers, because we're making sure that there's pay equity and that we're not
Mm.
hiring, people here at way high and then somebody over here is getting something less, and then there's just, so it's much more streamlined now. And I think there's a good system. And then again, the next piece is just getting Munis
Munis,
recruitment, which
yeah.
we actually have 2 positions that we're gonna be putting into Munis as our test positions, I think this week, so. Yeah. All good stuff.
Is there in the HR budget an advertising recruiting
Yes,
number?
yes,
And
and
what's included in that?
well, I think this year's budget was woefully under. I think they gave us $10,000 for recruitment, but the piece that's hasn't been happening that should be happening, which is part of the bigger finance project, is the whole chargebacks and indirect costs. So right now, everything goes through one line item in HR, which I think makes sense because it's a way to say how much total are we spending on recruitment efforts. But what we should be doing is if it's anything enterprise funded, like the light plant, water, sewer, all that, if they have a job ad, we should be charging it back to that. And that piece hasn't been happening. But if you've been following the select
Yeah.
board and the FinCom meetings, the last few years, there's been this issue with the chargebacks and indirects not being billed back. So that will give us some relief. So right now we're way over 10,000 because that recruiting is also, it's job advertisements, it's the medical exams, there's another background checks, anything related to getting somebody on board is all part of that recruitment expense. So it goes way beyond just the job advertisements. So
So from my experience, I was evaluated on how I, how I spent the money and what the budget was versus actual. And that was an important number that I reported to the CEO every month to be able to mark how essentially we're doing in relationship to numbers of hires. I mean, there are various ways to use that information that in fact could arguably be a goal for the HR organization or people within the HR organization. But so right now, advertising, there isn't a way to track that, or is there a way to track advertising expenses per month?
I think we do have a whole tracker.
yeah, we could definitely do the advertising because we know we advertise, we pay for Indeed. MMA
MMA.
does a lot of our job postings, so those invoices are tracked. And then sometimes departments might have like a special website, like American Public Works Association. Sometimes we put the jobs there, and that's like a special professional organization. They say, hey, can we get an ad there? And we'll pay and put the ad there. But the bulk of them are, between our website, which is free, and then MMA and Indeed are where we're investing most of the money. And then the medical exams are pretty standard routine. Again, some cost more, like firefighter medicals cost more than
Right.
Just a drug test for somebody, but Aaron's made some changes on the drug testing too, which has saved us some money this year as well.
So you don't do contingency hiring through contingency agencies? You don't have to do that? Or through
I mean, like
search
temp agencies,
temp agencies or agencies that, actually place people and you pay a fee based on
and
whatever?
we have
You don't
a
do?
few temp people over the.
They've
last
all gone
year,
through
but-
enterprise funds too,
Yeah,
for the
so,
most part.
Okay.
yeah,
And so any of the more senior level positions,
we're not
Do you-
working with like headhunters or anything like that, no,
okay,
Yeah, we don't do that either.
no.
There's usually a pretty hefty conversion fee, especially.
Yeah,
It's usually like a percentage of their base salary for the first
Yeah.
year, so it's,
yeah.
it can be pretty,
Oh.
pricey.
but definitely for like a town manager.
Yeah,
to do a
of course.
firm, sometimes I've seen it too for like a police or
Yeah.
fire chief. Depending on the
Yep.
situation, you might hire a firm to do something like that, but.
But that money though, in the budget, would be a separate line item or would it be in the advertising recruitment?
I would think for
Number.
something like that, if we have to do like an RFP to get a consultant, that would have to be I would want that to be a separate line item, because otherwise it's gonna look like, oh, here's your advertising, all of a sudden,
Right.
woo, you get this big spike for that 1 year you hire, a firm to
Yeah.
do a search, and then I would want that broken out, so.
All right, I had one other question on the reporting here, and which is, I'd like to be able to see if we can't start doing, turnover, monthly turnover and cumulative turnover rates.
Oh,
Yeah.
the rate itself
Yeah.
instead of the volume.
Well, no, both. I mean,
Oh.
but, it would be that each month, we would have whatever But I would not include retirements
Okay,
in that number. But I would include resignations and separations. And we start to track on a month-to-month basis, and you can do it cumulative easily.
Mhm.
But that we start to have that as a regular component of the monthly reporting.
there is functionality in Munis to pull that information, and I attempted to do it because you brought this up before. It wasn't pulling inaccurate data, and so it would have been a manual thing for me to do, and
Yeah, well,
I couldn't figure out how to do it. But I can look into it.
okay. You do something at all in regards to statistics like that in Wayland, Kate?
We don't, we don't really, it's all manual for us. We unfortunately, we don't have any kind of tracking system. We only have, we have partial pieces of Munis that are online, but nothing comprehensive, so we can't.
I mean, in some ways, it's a case of what the numerator and the denominator.
Well,
are.
it's an easy
And so it's,
function, I'm sure.
yeah,
I tried to build the spreadsheet and use some AI, but it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get you the wrong information.
okay. Well, so we'll just, I mean, any other thoughts about having this included in our monthly packet?
No, I think it would be a helpful number to look, it'd be an interesting number, so.
And I think it has a direct correlation to the town manager's evaluation. Which is part of what we're gonna talk a little bit about tonight, but we'll, okay.
Would you like it turnover rate for the town or by department?
Well, it depends on how the data is, how you're able to get the data.
Mhm.
Once you have a plan and you have a spreadsheet, I mean, it can work by departments
Mhm.
as well as it could by the whole town.
Yeah,
If that was meaningful,
Okay.
it may not be if you've got a department of 3 people.
yeah,
What's meaningful for the town manager's evaluation would be the whole town.
right. That makes sense. Okay, I'll keep playing around with it.
Okay, okay.
The last piece was just 2025 calendar year to date hiring. That is for all of 2025. And this is all statuses, full-time, limited status and temp.
Any
That's
other
it.
comments or questions? Okay, good. This is all, all good. We're continuing to make progress and we have as an objective here, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is how can we help the select board in the evaluation of the town manager? And this kind of data, I think, is necessary in order to help in that regard. Okay. Anything else before we move on to the annual report, draft annual report? All right, let's go to the draft annual report.
All right, so as you may recall from last year, we did basically a human resources department report that encompasses information about the work done by the personnel board. Historically, it had always been 2 separate reports, but when Kimberly and I had looked at all this, it's kind of like we're writing sort of about the same things because the work crosses over. So this is again a kind of a hybrid report of the department and the personnel board. So I put this draft together, which, as you can see, discusses the staffing changes and things we've done in the HR department during 2025. Gives some figures and stats on our recruitment activity, 97 job openings and almost 4,000 employment applications, which again does include our efforts towards seasonal positions, which again is that big volume of recreation folks. Talked about our engagement activities. Then really the part that most closely pertains to this group is on the page about, personnel board and projects. I talk about our membership and some of the work we've done with job description updates, personnel policy revisions. I list out the amendments we made, classification structure. The one highlight there, and I know Mark is on the call too, but I could have sworn we made some final decisions on the personnel board charge, but then Mark had written back on email and it looks like the select board did have some discussions that something might have gotten bounced back to this board. but I thought we were done on our level, so let me,
Yeah, I thought so too.
That's what you.
yeah. And Mark, I don't know if you're, tuned
Yeah.
in at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find his email.
Here he is.
Hi. Yeah,
Hi.
the charge. I thought we were all set with the charge, but then I'm looking for your email.
So, yeah, and I heard Bill going for it a little bit earlier. I know we were interested in what suggestions you had for ongoing measurements, but I'm not, and I haven't opened the charge in a little while, so I'm not sure whether we needed to write that into the charge, or if you guys are happy with it the way it is. I know that the select board has not taken a final action on the charge, but I'd be more than happy to put it forward if you don't have any further suggestions about it. I'd be happy to put it forward as a final, and we could act on it in the next couple of meetings.
Mark, since I think we all thought that it had gone through that particular process or formality, but so is there perhaps it may not have gone forward because somebody had a concern
So
or question?
when we had our discussion about it at the board level, and this is going back a ways, but my recollection was that we were interested in what suggestions you might have for um, measurements or things that we should be tracking in line with um, evaluation of the human resource management for the town as it would be reflected in the town manager's evaluation. And I should probably have opened it, but I'd be happy to look at that again. And if I don't think that there needs to be any changes, then I could just bring it back to the select board and we could vote it final. But I think we had some discussion, and I wanted to give you guys a chance to react to that discussion. And if your reaction is it's fine the way we propose to do it, then that's okay with me.
I had not understood, I remember the discussion, of course, about your interest in
Yeah.
that topic, but I had not at all understood that to be tied to the charge. I thought the charge was finalized, and I think you should, take a look at it and see if we can
Yeah,
finalize it. I don't know that we.
Yeah,
Wanna add
if you think you're done with it, then I will do that. And
Right, okay, thank you.
okay.
Thank you very much.
so
Thank
maybe
Thanks, Mark.
change 25 to 26 there, since we're clearly not doing it last.
Yeah, I'm gonna revise that sentence to say that, we've worked on an updated personnel board charge, that was presented, and should hopefully be approved by the select board in
Yeah.
2026. So that's all retool that. So that's why that's highlighted. So thank you, Mark. I was racking my brain. I was looking at select board agendas. I had Kristen and the select board
Yeah.
office looking at, it's like, I could have sworn
I know.
this was all voted and done, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. So,
Okay.
um,
I'll take a look at it while I'm sitting here while you guys keep moving, and if I
perfect.
think
Okay.
differently
Thanks,
by the
Mark.
end of the meeting, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
And then the closeout of the report is just talking about some of the other projects that the department has been working on, which again crosses over to personnel board's assistance. I talk about collective bargaining, of course, the incentive pay program, the health insurance, updates and changes that we've made, to the plans, and then our munis conversion. So,
I thought you could have emphasized munis a little more, or maybe even given a quick description of what munis is.
okay,
I'm not sure that it was.
Mm.
I know what a munis is through your description, so I understood when I saw it, but I don't think it was summarized as what it does.
sure.
It was a big project for you guys. It was a big undertaking and a big change to the way you're operating, right? So I think you can make a little more of that.
Okay,
And it also dovetails into the town's financial
right.
structure
Yeah.
and IT capabilities, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I should check and see what I assume they're both writing, or at least finance, I assume is writing something about Munis in their report as well, so we can kind of marry up and see what's where, but I can certainly elaborate on
Right.
that, because it is big and it's still not done. We get closer each month, but there's still quite a bit.
Is there
happening.
there's a project plan that lays out what is to be done and when.
Yes, I don't have that handy or even off the top of my head, other than generally I know that the priority was always like the payroll piece, which is motoring along quite nicely now. So people are getting paid through Munis. The employee self-service portal is up and running. I know finance right now is working through getting the W-2s and all that, because it's that time of year. So I assume we'll get those and we can access those through our portals as well. As I mentioned earlier, Aaron's getting ready to start working on our first job postings and openings using the Munis portal. New hire onboarding paperwork has already been
Mhm.
gone through with, I think, 4 or 5
Wow.
employees doing their forms and everything. And then
Wow.
Melissa and I will be working with Munis to get built and ready to go the open enrollment module, because that is right around the corner. It's mid-April to mid-May, but I feel like I'm gonna wake up tomorrow, it'll be mid-March already, you know, so
Yeah.
and getting that, and then, you know, each progressive thing, and then
Accruals. leave
accruals and leave stuff was also in there. That was probably right after payroll or
days.
with
It was
payroll.
pretty, it was at the same time, July
Oh, you
1st.
did, you set that up, accruals are set up as well? Oh,
Yep,
Yep.
yeah,
So
All the
can
tracking goes through.
employees now go in and request their time off? You're not?
Not quite. So it's more, it's still being entered, so deducted and awarded through the payroll process.
Okay.
But I think they are looking into getting some sort of requesting functionality set up.
yeah, but at least, you know,
Yeah,
huge
they can
improvement.
track.
People are
Yeah, they
seeing
can see,
real-time
yeah,
balances
yeah.
on those stubs every 2 weeks,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
before was a mystery. I feel like there's one other piece. Oh, personnel actions, or is that all part of?
I guess personnel
Recruitment.
actions is, it's tied into recruitment, but it's
Yeah,
bigger. There's lots of functions it can be used for.
yeah, and
Um,
workflows, you know, figuring out who
yeah.
needs to see what sign, where, when, how, but yeah, so
We're
it's, that's kind
building.
of been the progression, and then once we get all that done, you know, we can really start digging into some of the meat of like how to maximize reporting, and, but it's like, it's getting it built first before we can
Yeah.
really start playing around. But you know, like I did the wage charts, for example, for July 1st, with what we're proposing, and we'll get to that shortly when we talk about the articles, but it was like so fast. It was a couple of button clicks to just move all the charts. So that would have been so much more work before. So, you know, we're already seeing some of the nice benefits of having this stuff kind of automated, so.
I'm gonna go back to an earlier point, Aaron, that you were talking about numbers of applicants that you had.
Mhm.
Um, does an entity have to at all indicate the, ethnic or nationality of the applicants? If you know it, or is that no longer, when I remember the EOC one.
EEO.
Mm.
I don't believe it's in our application, but it's definitely in our new hire onboarding paperwork. It's collected
But-
at the time of hire.
Yeah, I don't think we're doing the
It's-
voluntary questionnaire.
No,
Yeah, I think it's different for municipalities. I think you're talking about the EO one
EO,
and
right,
reporting.
yeah.
And when I was at Staples, we had to track all of that but we don't do that on the municipal side for
Yeah, we do the
applicants.
EO4
Yeah, we do the.
reporting. Which, by the way, have you gotten your stuff yet? Cause
No.
I sent an email to them like 4 months ago, and I got the whole like, we're in the government shutdown, nobody's even looking at.
yeah,
this
No.
they don't have an update on the website
No.
either. I was looking at.
I
it.
don't.
What
Yeah,
is
cause you
the-
sent me that, and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's on my radar, and I haven't heard a peep from anybody at the feds,
It's,
so.
it's a similar type of reporting, only it's geared toward municipalities, government entities. It's,
And
Yeah.
it's not a candidate demographics, it's
no.
No, it's more
employee
like
that.
position,
Yeah.
salary,
Yeah.
and how many women are in,
Yeah.
you know, management positions making over 80,000 a year, and so, you know, whatever the numbers are, so. But yeah, I know we're up in January. and I'm like,
Yes.
I haven't even gotten a login or anything, I have nothing, so I'm like, oh, so.
Okay, so we're ready to move on to this is review and vote of the draft articles is next.
Yes, so the 2 warrant articles, again, these are fairly boilerplate. So the first one is, we usually typically have the 2 articles each year, ratification of all of the classification actions from the previous year. and then the class and comp plan. So the first one is the ratification of the actions. And this is pretty much final. I just have to go back in and plug in the effective dates on those reclassifications, but these are all the actual position changes that the board voted. I just gotta get those dates in there. Number 6 through 12. I went back and forth and spoke with the town manager on this. So the board actually hasn't discussed and voted eliminating those titles for all the line workers and the lead electrical engineers. We are going to be proposing within the class and comp article that those come out. These are all positions at the municipal light plant that have decided to unionize, and their papers came through, I believe it was December of last year. That they're officially in a union. There's actually gonna be two unions. There's gonna be a line workers union and then an electrical engineers union. One has, I think, 6 members, the other has 4 members. So two tiny unions, but same amount of work for us in terms of bargaining and administration, but it's all good. So those would not be then needed on the class and comp plan, which is of course for all of the non-union positions. And I'm gonna plug in the effective date of basically when their official paperwork came in establishing their union. So which, like I said, I believe was either December or November of last year. So
When did
that's-
that petition come in that they petitioned for the union?
it was late last year. So
Mhm.
yeah, and we've been at the table. We actually just had some prep today. We've been at the table with the line workers first. And then hopefully from there, the second contract will go a lot faster because we expect that a lot of the articles will be the same between the two groups. But it's definitely interesting. It's our first time going through building like a brand new contract. I've always come in and done bargaining with our already established union in a contract, but like when you're literally like, okay, what do we want for a contract? It's been an interesting process, but it's good. So
I'm 3 years into a new contract bargaining. It isn't quick usually.
yeah, so we'll see. We'll see where it goes. We've made some good progress for sure, but it's not quick.
It's kind of exciting though, like, I mean, I'm just thinking about some of our contracts and some of the language that is really vague and.
Yeah.
You know, it's an opportunity to, clarify things that, but it is a lot, I can imagine it's a lot of work.
And it's IBEW, so the good thing is, we have other municipal light plants around us, all of which are actually unionized. It was actually pretty unique that our line workers were not unionized. So the good thing is we're all kind of taking language from those other contracts and working with that and saying, this is kind of what the industry contract standard is and going from there. But yeah, it is interesting to do it from the ground up.
Well, from my background, I guess I still, because we didn't have unions in the pharmaceutical industry that I was in, medical device, is really, I don't know. I know I don't understand the basis for why a group would think that a union environment is better. I don't know if there's a quantitative way of being able to evaluate that. Anyway, I'm always interested in knowing why people think that that's a benefit.
Yeah, I don't see the benefit either.
Probably because we're all non-union people ourselves that we don't understand. I don't know.
The benefits are illusory and they're not real.
Yeah.
In many instances, but did we campaign against the petition? Did the town respond with an education campaign on like?
No, I mean, the union has the right, any group of employees has the right to organize.
Sure,
so-
but the employer has the right
Um,
to explain the.
Yeah, we did. There is one position relative to the electrical engineer group that we're like, we don't really think that position should be part of the union. This is why. So that piece is still pending, that one position, but the others, make sense for the most part, but.
When, I'm sorry, you said. I'm curious to know when the petition to unionize came in. You said late last year, but we're already at the bargaining table?
Yeah, because basically we gotta, once they're a union, we gotta do it.
Oh, did we recognize the union? Did we?
Yes,
We
let me,
recognize the union without an election?
Let me just pull up what's the motion. Looking for the incorporation document. Yeah, I can't, it was definitely late 2025.
What's the distinction between recognizing and voting, or I guess
Well-
what you're,
E- Employees are entitled to a secret ballot election to express whether or not they want to be part of the union. And if the employer grants recognition of the union without that, then not every employee gets heard. So that was, I guess I'm curious to know how we react to that. Like if we insist on the secret ballot election as a town, or do we say we'll simply recognize the union that's asked to be recognized?
Yeah, that I don't know. I can certainly ask Labor Council.
well, is this really, it's probably not in our purview. But
I think
It
at
would
the
seem-
time of the election, it would be interesting for the board to know if it's happening. You know,
the personnel board and the select board,
probably, yeah.
because they're the ones. I mean, it seems to me the select board would be as important as,
Interested,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they petitioned October 28th of 2024. And then the decision, I believe, came out that long after. So yeah, it's definitely, it's been ongoing, but yeah, we sat down. Aaron, do you remember when we first started bargaining with them? Was it 8 months ago, maybe?
Oh, 2024, okay, so, yeah.
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 Oh, yeah, because I said last year, because in my head, it's not 2026 yet.
I think it was June.
June, okay, yes, that's about 7 months, that wasn't too far off. Yeah, so last year, because I was thinking of, yeah. 2024.
That makes
You're like, we're already bargaining with
Yeah.
us?
So they're a union now, so they're no longer on this non-union class and comp.
Correct.
So did they receive any of the incentive pay?
So
How
yes,
does that
what we did do is because goals and everything were already underway as a good faith gesture, which I'm sure probably still won't get us any good faith later down the road, but we did have them go through the goal process. They got reviews, they received merit pay, but then that's it.
Okay,
So
I was just curious.
they did not set goals for this year, and they won't get the incentive pay or any of that, pending the outcome, whatever they end up doing,
Yeah.
and they don't seem to have. I don't wanna say too much in public meeting, but I don't
Yeah,
think there'll
yeah.
be like a performance type component in
Mhm.
their agreement. They kind of want the standard, just step chart, everybody moves and call it a day, so.
Okay, is there, so now we've got to do a vote on these draft?
Yeah, you could vote them both if you want me to walk you through the second,
Okay, you want to walk us through the second?
and I have this set up as well since you're the chair, Bill, but you'll be doing these motions and stuff at town meeting.
Okay.
Unless we get on consent article again, but I don't think with the class and comp plan we'll end up on consent article because we are proposing a change. So I provided basically the article to ratify the proposed class and comp plan. I haven't put the chart in here because last year, this chart, if you remember, they did like the warrant in the bridge, but then they had the town meeting briefing book and stuff like
Mhm.
this class and comp chart was all in the briefing book. So I'm not sure, they are doing a briefing book and I assume that this will be done that way, but I don't know if that matters if we're on consent agenda or not, but that's why that's a separate document, that class and comp plan, but basically, this language is all the same from last year's article. It just has the new date that we're proposing for July 1st of 2026. And what we are proposing on the class and comp plan is to do a 1.2% shift of the pay plan, which is basically gonna be the COLA increase. Last year, if you recall, there was no COLA adjustment for non-union. So this is the first time that we'll be proposing a shift on COLA in this article to this pay plan. And you're probably saying, where on earth did 1.2% come from? So the town manager and I discussed this and talked it over, and her thought process is that we should be looking to try to tie cost of living to the CPU or the CPIU rather for Boston area. And that increase this year was, I believe, 3.2%. So the majority of our employees are going to be moving one step on the plan, assuming successful performance, which is going to give them 2%.
Mm.
So then the thought process was to get to that 3.2%, we would do the COLA shift by 1.2%. So that's how they would get 3.2%. I want to say there's between 8 and 10 people that are at step 18 this year, so they obviously won't move the 2%, but they will get the benefit of 1.2% on their base salary because we have to pay them whatever the new maximum is. And then, of course, they're eligible for the merit pay. So that's how we came up with that. And then we did put a rough draft proposal of this kind of concept of tying the COLA each year to that CPIU. And this particular policy proposal isn't on the agenda tonight for any sort of, lengthy discussion or vote, but we wanted to get it to you so that it made sense as I discussed the plan. But then we'd like to see if this is something we could get your feedback on. And if you think this methodology kind of makes sense, we would love to get this developed into kind of the policy that's in place. So again, employees have an expectation, understanding each year of what they might get for a COLA increase. Because we definitely heard people loud and clear on feedback last year that like, hey, we really want a COLA adjustment, particularly since our union groups got COLA adjustments as well. Then the only other thing I was hoping to get some guidance on with regard to the class and comp plan, the chart, is historically we'd always done minimum, midpoint, and maximum, but that was before we had the 18-step chart plan. Now that we have the 18-step chart plan, the town manager and I think it makes more sense just to do minimum and maximum, because the midpoint actually doesn't land on a step. It's perfectly between steps 10 and 11. So step 10 is typically the top of what our hiring range is. We typically do not hire over step 10 as a general rule. Unless there's some extenuating circumstance, either based on experience, market demand, etc. But most people are not getting hired over step 10. I think maybe only one person I can think of might have been hired over step 10, and then we're talking step 11. So we could do a couple of things. We could just go a straight minimum maximum and eliminate that midpoint on this chart. We could do a note up at the top here noting that there's an 18-step plan, and we could list like step 10 for reference, or make reference to starting hiring range typically doesn't go over step 10, and then people could see what step 10 is. Again, looking for kind of your thoughts and feedback on what you would want that to look like, and that will be obviously in the warrant article or tied to the warrant article via the briefing book, whatever they end up doing for publicizing that.
All right, so, Josh or Kate, do you have any thoughts about the chart and whether or not adding a step 10 with an asterisk that indicates what it means?
So I agree with getting rid of removing the midpoint. It doesn't really make sense if you're on a step plan to have a
Right.
midpoint that doesn't actually,
There is no
map on to the step plan. I'm not sure about putting the step 10, so are you saying maybe min, max, and then step 10, and this is what we don't hire over this step?
Right,
Over
so like we could say like minimum step 1, we could even note it that way, say minimum step
Okay.
1, maximum step 18. And then instead of saying anything about midpoint, we could just simply say
Oh,
step
I see.
10. And then make a note, maybe somewhere in the description about it being like
Yeah.
an 18-step plan.
Yeah.
Typical hiring practices not to go over step 10,
Yeah.
something to that effect. And I think in some ways it might be good to kind of reference
Yeah.
the step 10, because again, this goes on our website. Prospective job seekers see this, while we always put in the job ads kind of that min to step 10 posting rate.
Mhm.
And we also have phone screens and everything where we also reiterate that. We still have had those occasional conversations where people are like, oh, but I see the maximum is whatever, and I want the maximum, even though we've told them like 5 times, like, we're not gonna hire you over step 10. Are you okay with this? Yes, I wanna be considered, you know. So I think it might be good to have
Yeah.
that step 10 reference in there, and that's certainly much
Yeah.
easier too, because like right now, and I did it, but like I had to actually manually calculate the
Mhm.
midpoint for all of these because it's not on the step chart, whereas all the other numbers, it was like, you know, put right in because it was there, you know, in the Excel calculations, so.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So are we sort of in agreement without the necessity of a vote that we encourage the step 10 designation to be included in the,
Okay, perfect.
okay.
I think that makes sense.
All right, excellent. That was easy. And any thoughts or feedback on the 1.2% COLA shift or this thought process? Again, we'll have a bigger discussion, I think, at the next meeting, and a vote on that policy, but how's the board feel about getting behind a 1.2% COLA shift, which will give the majority of the employees, assuming successful performance, 3.2%.
My
No, no.
My only question has to do with, is this a benchmark topic? That is, what are other municipalities doing as it relates to this topic of COLA or not?
Yeah, I
And-
think there is some benchmarking that's done. We always see those emails that come around. Kate, you can
Mhm.
speak to this as well. Like, hey, we're trying to figure out what to give for COLA this year. What's everybody else giving? So I think the town manager's thought process was that if we kind of somehow tie it to that CPIU, that's almost the benchmark in and of itself. We could say, hey, we're doing this COLA because this is the true cost of living based on that figure. And that's how she's kind of envisioning that we would have it be benchmarked. And again, the nice thing too with a COLA adjustment is if you are somebody for whatever reason doesn't have successful performance and you stay at step 4, you'll at least get 1.2% because we have to pay you whatever the new step 4 rate is. So it does afford that opportunity.
My question would be, what if you have someone on the opposite end of that spectrum who gets the 1.2%, the 2% step, they get their step, their 1.2, the COLA, and they're top of their game? I'm just, how did you budget that to make sure, is there like a percentage range you want to be in terms of increase for total compensation so that you're not?
Yes, this is also a number, for this year's budget process, the town manager and the finance CFO feels we can afford based on the current salaries in the system. We've already run all those reports from Munis, that show everybody's step where they're at. And again, for budget purposes, we anticipate everybody will have successful performance and everybody will move a step. So, and I want to say last year there was only 2 people that did not step. So out of whatever it is, 171 people, that's pretty darn good.
I'm sorry, you said what the CPIU is, but can you say it again? It's,
Yeah, it's the Consumer Price Index. I'm trying-
For all urban consumers.
Yes, the U is.
I'm
the
just
urban-
reading it out of.
Yeah,
I see.
there it is. Yep, Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers. Boston, Cambridge, Newton, Mass, New Hampshire area, and that's a figure that comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And as it notes in the policy, you know, historically, we've just kind of done, you know, at the town's discretion, and there's been that variability. So this kind of all ties into even why we developed the step chart to begin with, that like people want that predictability. They want to kind of know, like, if I'm here in, you know, 5 years, I know I'm at least gonna move 5 steps and get, you know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10%. And then if they have this as well, they can be looking at that and be like, okay, this is what the CPIU went up. And I believe there was, if it's not in here, she and I definitely discussed a mechanism too, because obviously if we have a year where like that CPIU is, you know, 9.8%, we can't be giving a, you know, 7% COLA. So there should be like a stopgap, like up to a maximum, you know, we'll follow that, because
Yeah,
obviously it has
yeah.
to be, you know, within the budget that we can afford as well.
I'm just,
Yeah, so
we're
like
here.
it's under B, so like if the 12-month CPIU increase exceeds 2%, the town shall apply COLA equal to the amount above 2% rounded to the nearest tenth.
Oh, yeah, so that's in the step
Yeah.
plan,
Yeah,
and if it exceeds say that again, if it exceeds.
Yeah, if the increase exceeds 2%, the town shall apply a COLA equal to the amount above 2% rounded to the nearest.
Okay, so that's already in there, okay, so that's in line with what we said before.
Yes.
Mhm.
And again, we can have a more in-depth discussion because this technically is a new policy, so we would want to have it as its own agenda item and really get deep into it. But it was important to share it tonight because it ties into how we came up
Yeah,
with these figures here, which I do need you to vote tonight for the warrant, so.
it just seems, in fairness, it's probably gonna be, there's gonna be some sensitivity about costs this year at town meeting. It seems
Yeah.
like it's really like heating, right?
Yeah,
So I wanna make sure that whatever we think is the right move here is defensible as to why. You
exactly.
know, and that it is something we think we can afford, and that it is within kind of guidance
Yes,
from financial, I mean,
and the fact that there was no COLA increase at all last year for non-union, so last year people just got their step and that was it. Whereas again, our union groups got their steps and
Yeah.
their COLAs, so. This is really just the right thing to do from, that perspective in terms of equity and. Again, everybody's bills are going up, just like the town's bills are going up, but all of our bills are going up too.
I do think 3% is high compared to private sector. I don't think that they're giving 3% year over year in most cases, but I don't think it's unjustified here.
Yeah. Again, our steps are actually, 2% is definitely on the lower end, like if you look at our. Public safety unions, the other groups that have fewer steps, their steps are like 4% and 5% between it, plus they get the COLA, but they're compressed and they have a. Different mindset where they're just like, we just want to get to the top step as quickly as possible and.
Hmm.
I don't know why, because I know ever gets the COLA, but in their mind, they want to be a top step. People love to be a top step. So, again, our steps, we have a lot of steps, but they're modest increases, but again, they're at least increases that are predictable, and it's still a lot more affordable than we were giving, the big COLA with the big performance in the percentage of the base increases that, we eliminated last year when we moved to the incentive plan and the step chart, so.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the table.
Yes. And I know this is hard to read because it's redlined, but basically you can see. Like for example, here, 138, 174 is what the minimum has been for grade 18 the last 2 years. So you take the 1.2% increase, that bumps that minimum up to 139, 832.68. So all of these figures that are in the blue is 1.2% increase.
Just as a quality control, did somebody actually check the math on each one of these? Because
We are double checking that now before this actually goes into the warrant or the
Right,
briefing
because
book.
that is a huge, could be a huge shift.
Yes.
The quality control on numbers is always important.
Yep, and just so you can see what I've done, so I've built the new wage charts that I said I could click through, shifted them within Munis. These are all my beautiful Munis wage charts here. Some rounding from the fourth digit, we just
Yeah.
made notes there because I simultaneously did my midpoint calculations in Excel using the Excel step chart we've been working with to see they were all within, the fourth digit for the most part. It's just there's always some rounding differences
Yeah.
between Munis and Excel, but the goal going forward with all of the union groups in these is to have whatever spits out of Munis, like this will be the official wage chart. So yes, these mins and maximums will match up here, and then we'll also conversely put in that step 10 rate, and it will be based on what Munis is saying. Which again, they're right there. It's like, sometimes it's like 0.1578 versus 0.1577. I mean, they're there, but yeah, so this is all the,
Okay, so,
and this is my own double and triple checking. I've got my
right,
wonderful staff double and triple checking. Like this is actually Nicole's note right here based on her review. So yes.
so tonight you're looking for us to approve the
Um.
chart, except for the insertion of the step 10.
Yes, like approve basically the class and comp plan with the proposed 1.2%. And the understanding that I will amend it to insert step 10 rather than
And
the midpoint.
and to explain that you're showing step 1 instead of 18.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we will then expect to see at the next meeting, then this,
Yeah, I can get
All
you a
nicely-
clean
yeah.
copy of what ultimately was sent to the warrant, just so that you have that for reference.
When's it due to the warrant?
Our articles are technically due on, I think, the 9th, which was super early this year, but we obviously didn't have our January meeting until
Yeah.
then, and this wasn't gonna be ready for December. But that's like the internal deadline for departments and things, and there's always some wiggle room. But I think the warrant actually closes on the 23rd. Hold on, I got that schedule here, actually. Yes, Friday, January 23rd, the warrant closes, so I will be getting these in definitely before the end of this week. Citizen petition articles are due by Friday, the 23rd. The select board will be voting the ordering stuff on February 2nd. The public hearings, which Bill, I'll get with you if we aren't on consent agenda, which I don't think we will be, but who knows? I'll make sure you know which date.
okay, great.
Looks like select board. March 2nd is, I think it's public hearing number 1 is where this in theory will be. But you got this schedule, right, as the chair anyway, the town meeting. I'll make sure you have this, you
Okay.
know what's happening on. It's actually really nice that they do this. It's a nice organized.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed 1.2%.
I can do it. I move to approve the classification compensation plan for July 1st, July 1, 2026 with the 1.2% COLA. And amendments as discussed this evening, removing the midpoint, adding the step 10. Did I
All right.
capture everything?
Did you get it all?
No. But I'm gonna make it work. Second.
I'll send you the video too.
So it's been moved and seconded that the compensation plan effective July 1st, 2026 has the proposed 1.2% increase and amendments as so noted. All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
Josh, yes, and Bill, yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're now tracking employee satisfactions discussion. On the very last page, it was my sort of, it's a draft in terms of what communication we could send to the select board in regards to the conversations surrounding the annual town manager review. And so there's the background. And then the conclusions, here was the personnel board is not in a position to conduct its own town employee satisfaction survey. This is what we've said before. This is the town's responsibility to conduct and to manage. The personnel board can ask the town's human resources to provide the following data on a monthly basis, focusing on hiring and retention. So what I wanted to talk about or wanted to include tonight is what are the bullets under number 2? I guess one was going to be the turnover statistics. I'm going to say department and overall.
Excluding retirement.
Okay, you're right. Turnover excluding retirement. Good point. What else can we, at least at this point, stipulate?
Um,
Is
open positions maybe is, well. The high, well, turnover includes incoming hires, right?
Right.
Yeah, so, okay.
I mean, I don't know, part of this is the dilemma of we're now almost into February. And so the town manager's evaluation will take place, what, May, June, May, June, July. So in some ways, we need to be thinking about FY 26 as much as anything. I do think that as we've had our discussions about turnover statistics, which gets into the retention and so forth, that, I would like to see if we can't have the Human Resources Organization categorize the terminations going forward. Maybe not right away, but that we know how many are the reason why somebody has left, whether it's can't remember what I used to use, but it can be greater opportunity.
Mhm.
It can be, I mean, I'm using general terms here, but
Mhm.
and there may be actually something in Munis that has a filter of some kind or a code that actually is built into the Munis system. So we're not having to create something that's not already a part of the structure.
Is that a pull down field on the exit interview form?
It is.
Okay, but the problem we're having is getting people to actually come and do the exit interviews. So we have, Aaron created a while back, like a nice digital, I don't know if it's a Google form or what it is, where people can fill it out, and that is a great way to extract and run some reports. I think you can make graphs and
Mhm.
everything from it, but of course, the problem is not everybody's filling out the exit interview. Some people
Mm.
don't want to come to talk to us or fill it out. Some people want to
Mhm.
fill it out but don't come talk to us. Some people just want to come and talk to us, but they don't fill it out. It's all over the map, and we always reach out to people and say, hey, please come and schedule something, but they don't, or sometimes people just are gone so quickly that it's, we get the notice like, oh, this person, if they gave their 2-week notice, they're gonna be done on Friday, but they're taking vacation this week, and so it's like,
Do you have this kind of issue in
Yeah.
Wayland?
Yeah, the challenge to get people to do the exit interviews. And we're also, I mean, you're more so, you've got a bunch of different buildings, so it's even
Yeah.
harder, because getting someone to physically come to HR where they have to get in their car and drive. But
God
because,
forbid.
it's a hurdle, but it is a hurdle. I mean, it's great that you did but you have the electronic one, but yeah.
Well, we have to just somewhat, and maybe it's premature to talk about reasons for separations for terminations then. This is new to me. I mean, I didn't have this kind of issue. I don't know why, but this was not not an issue. I don't know if you've had any personal experience with this, Chuck.
I haven't really.
No. Well, why don't we,
I know we do have reason codes, right, when we lose people, but.
Yeah.
but if I'm hearing correctly, we're not sure. We may have the actual code, but we can't get the data to
We don't know
fill
what
up.
the code, yeah, we don't know if we capture that.
Yeah, and again, I think in terms of Munis, it's pretty much active and termed.
Yeah,
but
I'm not
termed
sure
and-
where it lives.
Yeah,
See, the thing that seems like it's relevant hypothetically is if you've got people leaving because of, I'm gonna say, poor management or inability to communicate with, and so you start to, if you see people leaving because of the same similar reason, then that's a way for the HR organization and the town to sort of say, well, maybe we should look into this. If it's compensation, sometimes you can't do anything about compensation, but at least you
Mhm.
know that the reason why that person is leaving is
Yeah,
they're going to a municipality or another job that pays higher.
right, it lets us consider whether we're a competitive employer or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that the information is valuable. But if you can't get the information, is this out of every 10 people who terminate, how many are a problem? I know this is hypothetical, so
What do you mean by a problem?
you can't get the data. You don't know why they left.
I think it's more often than not.
Okay,
Sometimes they'll put it in their resignation letter.
Yeah, sometimes we
that's
do
true.
get information
Yeah.
like that. Some people do say
Yeah.
like, oh, I've accepted a job closer
Right,
to home.
exactly.
or, You know, they're letting me
That's true.
be remote 4 days a week. I mean, there are some tidbits we get, even if they don't fill out our survey and our questionnaire, come meet with us. And then obviously you have the people that are termed because we told them to leave, and so that's,
yeah, well, and that's also another, that's another reason. Well, I think what we should do, based on what your thoughts, that reasons for termination, we should strive to see if we can't at least understand what is in Munis and what are the reasons, does Munis have as reasons for leaving? That has to be populated, obviously, in order for it to mean anything. So I didn't hear tonight that we know exactly what all those reasons are, so maybe for next meeting, we can do that.
I think it's something that would have to be built.
Oh, really?
I actually do. I think it would be something we
Yeah.
would need to figure out what categories and we could
Yeah.
build those categories.
I mean, she's right. We do have categories like that, but again, they were built, 5 or 6 years ago, and they were built when that's what they wanted, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you can customize it, but
Yeah, because I think I'm just pulling up my own employee master now, but I think it's
under
basically
dates.
active, inactive.
There is dates and then there's a code drop
Yeah.
down, but it looks like there's a little folder so we can edit what those options are.
Oh, so it's a case of the table has to be, we have to create the table
Mhm,
in the dropdown.
I believe so.
All right.
Yeah, so we do have a choice of resigned and retired for inactive, and then terms.
Well, then maybe what we should do is, you might be able to help
It's the
Kate
same.
in terms of what are reasons that are already in your system that might be of relevance to adding that to the table
Mhm.
here in Concord. Does that, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
there's only got to be 4 or 5 or 6.
What we have for categories.
Okay.
Like I said, some of them are pretty outdated and we don't use anymore, but, sure.
Well, I think we should, okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, we can
I'd
do
like
that.
to be able to see if we can't continue to fine tune the retention and turnover information that's available to help the town manager and the human resource organization, manage the employee population.
Kate, do you know if those codes are able to be reported on? Like if I pulled a report, if that information
Yes, I
Okay.
have pulled reports.
and
using
had that come
Yep,
in? Okay, good.
Yep, yeah.
Okay, so I think where we're at with this, providing some feedback to the select board. He is adding specifically the turnover statistics overall, perhaps even by department, excluding retirement, and reasons for termination. I think in the future, we'll have to see how the budgeting process and whether or not there's a way to report budget to actuals. And whether that's even a meaningful number for purposes of managing not only the budget, but also, how the efficiency of spending money.
Right.
I think that whatever employee satisfaction numbers we, data that we ask for, I feel that there should be a narrative attached to it because data is not necessarily gonna tell the whole story. I mean, for example, like during COVID, we just had people, we laid people off, we put people on furlough, people just left, right? And so there was this massive exodus in a lot of companies that were not, employers
Yeah.
couldn't really control.
Yeah.
So I feel like, and that's not, I just wanna make sure that evaluating employee satisfaction, turnover rate, I'm not sure that it actually captures that. So has to be a narrative attached.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, and unless we can come up with something that's, I mean, there may be something better or something that's more obvious.
Yeah.
I can't think of it,
Yeah, I
but that
can't.
doesn't mean it isn't there. It's a silly, it goes back to somewhat the benchmarking. What do
Mhm.
other municipalities do in order to evaluate the
Yeah.
town manager? And what are there employment related retention turnover numbers that in fact are included in that criteria or not?
Yeah, it may or may not even be useful for that evaluation in terms of make of it what you will, but it's a number. It's
Yeah.
what we have access to.
Yeah.
Provide.
Okay, anything else we've got to talk about on this, the draft for the select board? I'll clean this up a little and then we'll have it at our February meeting as well. Okay. And I guess we are at the point of, this is the personnel board membership.
We need some people. I love the three of you, but two more would be really great.
This is really, the longest drought that we've had since I've been involved, 10 years.
I just don't know any HR people or attorneys who are focused on that or,
I looked at that list.
Yeah.
just.
I didn't personally know them. I Googled a couple of them. It's people with some big jobs who may know.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, again, really anybody with like
hiring
good,
recruitment.
solid management experience, because even if
Yeah.
they aren't involved with the day-to-day HR, like in theory, if they're managing staff, they
Yeah.
probably have worked with HR and they certainly would probably be bright enough to be able to pick up and get the knowledge, from the three of you and
Yeah, that's a good point.
And again, I've got that whole voter list, so I can, call another section of, maybe people that have like the title manager in their
Mhm.
occupation and maybe
Is
can,
retired a separate designation?
I think so. I feel like people
Yeah.
can put on that census
Yeah.
retired.
Yeah, because a retired HR person may have more
Yeah,
ability to get involved. But that's-
Some, and I mean, I think in some ways that you would think, I mean, my case was retired and I wanted to continue to be involved in some way with the town. No, obviously, there are the people who retire in HR and they don't feel that way, but
Yeah. Thank goodness for you, for your approach, yeah.
I mean, you could also try and maybe Bill writing a letter to the Concord Bridge if you're like, hey, wanna join the best committee in town? I mean, I know sometimes people have done that, like, hey, we
Yeah.
need members and, I mean, this is a big-ish committee. I mean, it's not big the way like select board or FinCom is, but I mean, this is a group that really does some meaningful stuff and that it impacts every single employee, really. It's not like a niche group, so I don't know why we don't have the interest, but people are busy too. I mean,
Let's see,
you guys
busy.
know, the one night a week or one night a month even is a challenge at
Yeah.
times, especially with work schedules and things, so.
all right, well, let me think about what I could do in the Concord Bridge. I could talk to my friend Dakota and a reporter,
yeah.
Yeah,
good man.
Yeah,
because do you guys even know offhand on when your own terms are up? You're definitely on your
No.
second
Oh,
term,
yeah.
right, Bill?
Think,
No, I'm on third.
You're on your third, okay.
I'm on my second, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure, I remember being sworn in recently.
do you have to go back? You get sworn
Yeah,
in
yeah,
again?
to get sworn in.
I don't know when mine expires.
I worry about
Sure,
that
it's
too,
gonna-
like with.
How long a term is it? 2
It's
years?
just
Three.
three, yeah.
3 years.
Yeah,
3 years.
I thought I had a year to go.
Okay, so.
You can sign up early.
Well, the town clerk will send something out.
Yeah, that's cool.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
I
I just worry that we're getting to a point where we don't have any more members and then like one of you is like aging off, which you could probably get the exception under, whatever
Oh,
that
maybe,
EPP
yeah.
is, that's.
How many
No.
terms can you?
3.
I
Oh,
think for
really?
this
It's only
group, it
3?
is, there was something different with this that I think it
Yeah.
is 3,
And
everybody
they
else
have
is 2
in
terms,
the
but
charter. In
this one was different, I think, because
Yeah.
of the continuity aspect, because it's.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I did just bump into Liz Cobbs.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you ask her for the minutes?
She told me on the
It's been
September
my
11th
time.
thing, she was gonna be putting the bat signal out to try to find some people, but. Like, Liz,
Nice.
just come back already.
Yeah.
She said, that sounds nice, but she didn't.
Nice, yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're ready to adjourn.
Just before we do that, is everybody set because of the quorum issue? I think February 11th is the next, that's the second Wednesday of February. Is everybody good for that and the 5:30 time?
Yeah, I am.
Looks like that.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. No, Jess, that's a good thing to
Yeah.
know in advance.
Yes, I'm good.
All right,
Hopefully
I'll
everybody get
entertain a
over their
motion
flu
to
and illness. It
adjourn.
seems like everybody was sick over.
So moved.
the
All right, second.
Second.
So all in favor, Kate,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
and Bill, yes. Thank you all very much.